ready to dive into something pretty amazing.
I am, always.
Today, we're looking at this really cool children's book called Once Upon a Raindrop.
Okay.
And it explores the water cycle in a way I've honestly never really thought about before.
Yeah.
So we've got James Carter's words
Yes.
and Nomoko's illustrations to kind of be our guide here.
I love her work.
Oh, she's so good.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
One of the things that really stood out to me right away was how this book goes so much deeper than just the basics.
Yeah.
Like we all learned about, evaporation and rainfall and all that in school, right?
Right.
But this book kicks things off with this idea that water might have actually come from outer space.
It's incredible, isn't it? It suggests that the very water we drink, the water that makes up our oceans and rivers,
Right.
may have arrived on Earth billions of years ago,
Okay.
carried by icy meteorites that crashed onto our planet.
I mean, that is just like, whoa, it kind of blows my mind.
It's a pretty amazing way to start a story about water. It makes you realize just how precious water is.
And then it goes on, right? Like the book takes us on this journey.
Yeah, the book follows the journey of a single raindrop.
Oh, cool.
It goes through all these transformations, evaporating from a puddle,
Right.
rising up into the atmosphere, forming a cloud, falling back to Earth as rain.
And you were talking about how Carter's language is just so vivid and descriptive.
Oh, yeah. He uses words that are simple enough for kids to understand.
Okay.
But they really paint these incredible pictures in your mind.
I love that.
Like you can almost feel the tiny raindrops.
Yes.
And see the wispy clouds and hear the powerful ocean waves.
So cool. So we've got these incredible words.
Yeah.
And then to bring it all to life, we have these illustrations.
Yes. Nomoko's illustrations are amazing.
They're phenomenal.
Her style is very elegant.
Right.
With these beautiful flowing lines. She uses a lot of blues and greens, of course.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's a water book.
To evoke the feeling of water.
Okay.
But she also adds these splashes of other bright colors.
Yeah, I saw that.
It just makes the images so eye-catching.
Yeah. And, she has a background in design.
That's right.
So her illustrations are not only beautiful, but they're also really informative.
Yeah, and there's even this, playfulness to some of her images.
I love that.
Like the clouds.
Yes.
Almost look like characters themselves, don't they?
They totally do. It's like they have these little personalities.
That's wonderful.
It really is. And it makes me wonder, did she and Carter, really closely collaborate on how to present these concepts?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see a synergy.
Oh, for sure.
Between the words and the illustrations.
Yeah.
It's like they're working together
to
create this immersive experience for the reader.
And it really is an experience. It's like Once Upon a Raindrop is as much about fostering a sense of wonder as it is about teaching the science.
Totally agree. It's not just presenting facts.
Right.
It's inviting you to appreciate the beauty
Absolutely.
of this natural process.
It makes me think about James Carter as a poet and how that sensibility comes through in the way he writes about science.
Yeah, he's said that the poetry can help us see the world in new ways.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what he's doing here.
Yeah.
He's not just explaining the water cycle, he's encouraging readers to really connect with it emotionally.
It's like he's saying, hey, look at this incredible thing that's happening all around us.
It's happening right now.
Yeah. Let's take a moment to appreciate it.
And by doing so, I think he hopes to inspire young readers to care more about protecting water.
Which is a theme throughout the book, right? Water is essential for all life, and we need to appreciate it and conserve it.
And he does it in this really subtle way.
Okay.
Like when he talks about a single raindrop sustaining a tiny flower.
Right.
It makes you realize how interconnected everything is.
That's so powerful. And speaking of sparking young minds,
yes,
the book includes 5 fascinating facts about water.
Oh, I love those.
I don't want to give them all away just yet,
Okay.
but I will say they are pretty intriguing.
They really make you want to learn more.
So we've got this beautifully written and beautifully illustrated journey through the water cycle, and then it's sprinkled with these fascinating facts that just leave you wanting more.
What more could we ask for?
Well, I think we should probably learn a little bit about the author himself.
Okay, let's hear about James Carter.
What's his story?
So, he's an award-winning children's poet.
Okay. Not too surprising there.
Right. Which makes sense given the book.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's something you might not know.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He used to be in a heavy metal band.
Whoa. That is not what I was expecting.
I know. It's a pretty interesting twist.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It makes you wonder if his rock and roll past influences his writing at all.
Oh, I would love to know that.
Right. I mean, does he bring that energy, that passion to his children's books?
That's a good question.
It's hard to say for sure. But what we do know is that he's passionate about making science engaging and accessible, especially for young readers. He even talks about the importance of daydreaming, using your imagination, which I think is so important.
It is.
It's like he's saying that learning shouldn't be a chore.
Right.
It should be an adventure.
It should be fun.
Exactly.
So we've got this incredible book. Before we move on to part 2, though, I'm curious.
Yeah.
You've read a lot of children's books about science.
I have.
What sets this one apart for you?
You know, I think what makes Once Upon a Raindrop so special is how seamlessly it blends science, poetry, and art to create this really immersive and emotional experience.
I totally agree.
It's not just about informing you about the water cycle. It's about inspiring a sense of wonder and connection with the natural world.
Totally.
And I think that's a really powerful thing.
It is. And we're back talking all about Once Upon a Raindrop.
It's such a great book.
It really is. You know, one of the things I've been thinking about as we've been discussing this, it's like water is everywhere.
It really is.
Yeah.
You know, we drink it, we swim in it.
Right.
It falls from the sky.
Yeah.
It carves out landscapes. It's this incredible force that shapes our entire planet.
And yet I feel like it's so easy to just take it for granted.
It is.
Yeah.
We turn on the faucet and we expect water to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't always think about where it came from or what it took to get there.
That's so true. And I think that's one of the things that makes this book so important.
Oh, absolutely.
It helps us to pause and really appreciate this substance that's so essential to life.
And especially for young readers who are just starting to learn about the world around them.
It plants those seeds early on.
Exactly.
And, you know, speaking of appreciating water, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about Nomoko's illustrations.
Yeah.
You were talking about how her style is influenced by traditional Japanese art. And I was wondering if that shows up in any specific ways in the illustrations for Once Upon a Raindrop.
Oh, absolutely. There's this real sense of balance and harmony in her compositions that I think echoes those traditional aesthetics.
So, like, can you give me an example?
Sure, yeah. Like, when she depicts a raindrop falling into a pond, there's this beautiful sense of circularity, of interconnectedness.
Right.
You know, it's not just a scientific illustration.
Yeah.
It's almost like a visual haiku.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how different cultures perceive or represent the water cycle in their own unique ways.
That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah, it's like you could trace a cultural history of water through art.
You could.
Like, how has our relationship with water been reflected in art over time?
From ancient cave paintings to modern photography.
So cool.
That's a great point.
It's like this book, it opens up all these new ways of seeing.
It does.
Not just the science of water, but also its cultural significance.
And I think that speaks to the power of children's books, right?
Yeah.
They can introduce us to these big ideas in a way that's both accessible and thought-provoking.
Absolutely. It's not just about, like, memorizing facts.
Right.
It's about cultivating curiosity and wonder.
Exactly.
Oh, and speaking of sparking that sense of wonder, you know those 5 fascinating water facts?
Yes. You ready for another one?
Oh, please. I need to know. We teased it earlier. We got to reveal at least one more.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Fact number 2. Over 96%
Whoa.
of the world's water is saltwater found in oceans.
So that leaves very little for us.
Right.
Yeah.
That means that only a tiny fraction of fresh water is available
for
all the people,
all
the plants, all the animals on land.
That puts things in perspective.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Suddenly that glass of water seems a lot more precious.
Every drop counts.
It really does.
And it makes you think, you know, about all the challenges facing so many people around the world who don't have access to clean, safe drinking water.
Exactly. So it's a children's book.
Yeah.
But it also touches on some pretty big real-world issues.
It does. And, you know, it reminds us that even something as simple as a raindrop is connected to this whole complex web of environmental and social and economic factors.
And it's so easy for us to forget that.
Yeah, especially if we live in a place where water seems abundant.
Right.
So this book is a really good nudge to be more mindful of our water usage.
It really is. So we've talked about the art and the science and the author and even some of the bigger issues connected to water.
We have.
What else can we explore? What other depths?
Well, the book touches on some of the more mind-boggling aspects of water science, like its origins.
Oh, yeah. Are we going back to the outer space thing?
We are.
Okay.
That idea that water might have arrived on Earth from outer space.
Yeah.
Remember those icy meteorites?
I do. I mean, part of me still can't believe it.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
It's like, it sounds almost too fantastical to be true.
But that's what's so amazing about science.
Yeah.
Reality is often stranger and more wondrous than we could imagine.
So is that theory widely accepted in the scientific community?
You know, it's definitely a hot topic in planetary science.
Okay.
There's a lot of evidence to support the idea of icy meteorites delivering water to Earth early in its formation. But, scientists are still figuring out the exact details.
So it's still a bit of a mystery.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
And that's why science is so exciting, right?
Right.
There's always more to discover and learn. Even something as familiar as water can still hold surprises.
Okay. I think it's time for another fascinating water fact.
You got it. Fact number 3.
Okay.
Water is the only substance on Earth that naturally exists in all 3 states of matter.
Okay.
Solid, liquid, and gas.
Okay. That one's a classic.
It is.
But I always love hearing it.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. It's like ice, water, vapor.
Yeah.
It's like water is a master of disguise.
That's a great way to put it.
Constantly changing form.
Right.
But always remaining essentially itself.
And, each of those states plays such a crucial role in the water cycle.
Oh, total.
Solid ice melts into liquid water, which evaporates into gaseous vapor, which condenses back into liquid. And the cycle goes on and on.
It's incredible.
It's a pretty elegant process.
It really is. And it's so essential.
It is.
Yeah.
Life as we know it wouldn't exist.
And to think, Once Upon a Raindrop captures all of this complexity with such simplicity and beauty.
Yeah, it's a really remarkable book.
So, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
In this deep dive. Art, science, origins of water, water scarcity, even the author's rock and roll past.
It's been quite a journey.
And we still have 2 more fascinating water facts.
Oh, we do?
Listeners, you'll have to join us for the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah, come back.
To uncover those hidden gems.
We'll be here.
But in the meantime, I encourage you to think about the water you encounter every day.
Yeah, really take a moment to appreciate it.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
What journey has it taken to reach you?
And how can you help protect this precious resource?
Okay, I am so ready for those last 2 water facts.
I know, right?
You've been teasing us this whole time.
Well, the wait is over. Fact number 4. Some clouds can hold millions of tons of water.
Millions?
Millions.
Seriously.
It's heavier than a jumbo jet.
I am having trouble wrapping my head around that, these fluffy-looking clouds.
Right.
Holding that much weight.
It really makes you think about the power of nature.
Oh, yeah.
And when all that water is released, whether it's a gentle rain shower or a huge downpour, it has a massive impact on everything below it.
It's incredible.
It is. It's like even something as delicate as a cloud plays this really vital role in shaping our world.
And speaking of shaping our world, let's move on to fact number 5.
All right, here it is. A single tree can release up to 265 gallons of water into the atmosphere every single day.
What?
Through transpiration.
Wait, a day?
A day.
That's insane. That's like trees are these giant natural humidifiers.
Oh, like that.
Just constantly breathing moisture into the air.
Yeah, and it really shows how interconnected everything is in an ecosystem. Trees need water to survive, but they also give back to the water cycle. They have this big impact on everything from weather patterns to the global climate.
So we've come to the end of our deep dive into Once Upon a Raindrop.
I know, it went by so fast.
What are some of the big takeaways that stand out to you?
For me, this book shows that science can be fun and inspiring.
It doesn't have to be all dry and technical.
Right. It can be poetic and engaging and even magical.
Yeah. And Once Upon a Raindrop, it takes something as complex as the water cycle, and it just makes it feel so relatable, even awe-inspiring.
And it does that by using simple language and really beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
And those really interesting themes.
It reminds us that learning about science should be an adventure.
It should be.
And it also, even though it's a children's book, it kind of subtly highlights the importance of protecting our water.
Yes.
Conserving it, thinking about where it comes from.
Thinking about how we use it.
How we can protect it for the future. So to our listeners, if you haven't already, check out Once Upon a Raindrop.
Yeah, it's a great book. You'll enjoy it.
For all ages.
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember, as you go through your day, take a moment to really think about the water that's all around you.
The water we drink.
Yeah.
The puddles we see.
The rivers and the oceans.
Every drop has a story to tell.
It really does.
And it connects us to the past, the present, and the future of this amazing planet.
Absolutely.
And that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.